Hey everyone, just going to do a tutorial for the new indicator for the Profit Suite, and that is known as Sibyl. Okay, so Sibyl is a volume indicator, and we'll apply it to the chart. As we apply it to the chart, just pay attention to the colors of these candles, right? So at the moment they're a dark blue or quite a dark color there, right, into this light color here. We're going to apply it to the chart, SIBYL, right? Throw this on the chart. Now what we can see is it's a volume indicator down here, but we can also see we've now got some orange candles on here. Okay, we can see we've also got like a bit of a pink one here as well, right? So you don't have to have this coloring. This is a feature on it. It's not mandatory though. But it'll essentially just change the color candles on here as well. So if you have it hidden by any chance and you're not looking at your volume, and you got it by double clicking the screen in this pane up here and not this pane down here, right, is how you go full screen with and into this pane, right. The pane is essentially a section on the chart, so we can see we can actually go into the indicator like this by double clicking that as well, right. So if you don't have it open, you can still see the effects of it on the candles themselves, right. So there's a little pink or purpley one here, pink or purpley one here, right. And they have their purpose. But we'll get rid of that. We'll jump back into this, and we'll just go into the settings of this, okay? So you can't really see it at the moment because by default I like to have them quite quiet, and you guys have pretty much got a replication of how I use it. But you can come into here and you can change some settings around. So these clouds here at the moment are quite low in transparency, but we can actually go and make this a bit darker. Choose a different color maybe. Maybe make that 10%. And go to another, maybe the dark color there. Make that 15%, right, and then go to 20% for the next one. 20 down here. Right, whatever you want to do, essentially. But essentially this is moving averages, right, based on the volume here. So when you start to excel or exceed certain clouds of the aspect of it like this, you know that volume is ramping up, right? It's above average for a period of time, right? So when you get these excess moments like this, it's usually noteworthy to pay attention to that candle moving forward, right? So this is Bitcoin USDT. This candle here in particular was a very large volume candle, right? It exceeded both previous levels by a lot, right? And it also exceeded the average by a lot. So that's candle in particular moving forward is going to be somewhere where the market respects as a level of support or resistance or a trading range in itself. Right, so we can drag this to the right here, right, and we can see that this candle plus the additional time that was spent here has led to rejection here, right. So this volume aspect can help us greatly by tuning that, and we could have had no indicator on down the bottom here, but just a color. So the color is saying pay attention to this candle in particular. For resistance when we come back into it, or vice versa, right? So if we have a look here at the low end of this, right, that's pretty much where this automatic rally comes back into. This is where we're rejecting out of there, right? So volume plays a huge role in price action and the structure of it, and we can just pay attention to these levels moving forward, right? So we're seeing in this case here these pink ones that we're talking about, right? There's one here, hasn't been tested yet. There's another one here. This has been tested, right? Essentially, it's come in, pushed off, come back and tested that, pushed off, right? This one here's got no action after the fact. So an area of interest, we do have a bit of retrace as well. We'll go into the settings though, and we can just come back to those clouds, right? So you can change the color of those here, right? Or you can get rid of them altogether. You just untick them if you don't want them. I usually have them on, but by default, so if we go reset settings, right? And I go to maybe a darker background. We'll just go to this one here for now. You can see them in this, right? But on the white background, which you'll jump back to now, right? That's just very faint back there. You might not even be able to see it, but it's there, right? So I don't pay a lot of attention to that because I understand what I'm looking at anyway. But if you want to see an average of volume, that can be handy, right? Next up is the coloring of the candles on the bars here. You can change the color they paint over top of your theme, right? So my theme is this blue with a darker blue, and I can turn that off so I got just my normal colors, right? But if you want to turn that on, it'll paint over top of your theme, and let you know these candles in particular may be a little bit more noteworthy than others. The indicator isn't perfect though, so if you pay attention to like over here, this large candle here, it's actually played in today, which is this candle here. Let's move that out of the way. So this candle that's popped out the top here is actually a larger volume amount than this one down here, right? But this one got the orange and that one didn't. So ideally I'd like that one to also be orange, but the script isn't perfect, but it's pretty good, which is why I'm sharing it. Right, it's just another addition to the suite, and I think it's a great thing to have in your arsenal. So we'll just jump back in settings. So we've got bar colors, we can turn them on or off, you can change the color of them. You've also got the cloud, you can turn those on or off, or change the color of them. Pretty straightforward. You can play around with the MAs and relevance to that by changing these values and the multiplier. I recommend just leave it as is. This is how I use it. If you're going to use that moving average aspect. Right, and next is just the candles themselves. So we go zoom back in, blow this up, we'll make this a bit bigger. Might just see if I can go by percent. Here we go, it's a bit cleaner. Right, so when you right click the scale over here, you can actually change to regular, which is the amount of volume. You see the actual number here, right, based on the actual volume. Or you can change it to percent. When you have it on percent, like this, the value over here I never look at. I don't ever pay attention to this number on here for volume. All I'm looking at is the relevance to previous volume, right? And then if it's going up or down. Looking for patterns within this, or anomalies like this within this. The values over here are irrelevant for me, okay? So with percent, it actually keeps it much cleaner. It's usually easy to follow. Cool, so if that's on percent at the moment, we'll just zoom in the current price though, so we can see these candles a bit better. Alright, so all the for the most part, 99% of these candles are relevant, right? So this volume down here, we can analyze that volume as like a part of the range we're in and identify, okay, we're chopping sideways here on decreasing volume here. We can do that kind of analysis. But each candle here is pretty much irrelevant for the most part. These volume candles down here, right? So they go grey. They stay grey. You can change that color if you want. You can go into the settings and change that color. Change it to whatever you like. Do whatever you like when it comes to that. Cool. So that should be this guy here. Is that the one? Yeah. So you can change your all candles to a specific color if you want. You can even get rid of them if you wanted to. I don't recommend that, just because it does miss the odd candle. I got mine as a nice grey, a very neutral. Pretty sure I changed the transparency to a little bit lower as well, right? About 60% with a grey colour, and it just keeps them in view, but it's not doesn't grab your attention, right? Except these ones here, the pink, or sorry, I would say purple. And there's orange ones. Now they get my attention, and they stand out because of the light grey that's here. They stand out much easier, right? So it's something we need to pay attention. So we'll go back into that settings, and you've got different variations of volume. I try to keep mine all the same color. I try to keep it simplified as possible. I think when you can play with this as much as you like and set it up as much as you like. I think certain circumstances, some of it's better than others. Maybe in like a raging bull market where volume is actually starting to be quite a thing. But at the bottom of a bear market like we are, volume is pretty poor, and the books are very thin. So you're able to create large volume with a little amount of volume, if that makes sense, because the books are so thin. Cool. So we're going for each of these, right? So we'll turn all these off. And we'll leave just this one on, up here, this volume here, right? So now we can see they're all grey by default, right? All the bars are still here, but they're all grey. Okay, so we'll go back into that setting. And what these do is when we include them or turn them on, it's going to paint over top of that current grey candle, right? So we go turn this one on, for instance, and now we can see this one's called the extreme volume. This means that something has happened, usually something big, to get those ones, right? So we zoom out a wee bit. They're not too common, right? There's a month and a half between those ones, alright? 26 days between those ones. We're on the 4-hour time frame as well, alright? So they're not very common. So what you could do is have that paint over with a color that you want to really pay attention to when they come. Maybe you make it a red, nice bright red. So if and when that appears, you're like, okay, that's a really key level moving forward. So we go back to our chart here. Where are we on the chart? This candle here, right? And where do we reject? Where do we reject? Right? That's not coincidence. That's how volume works. So this is a huge heads up for you moving forward on all charts instantly to pay attention to the red candles if you had it on red. Really, really simple. I keep mine the same as all the other colors because I'm looking at size more so than color. But if you want to learn to use this indicator, you could maybe do something like that where you got a specific color for the extreme, and then if and when it appears, you treat it as such, right? We can get rid of that guy. We'll turn on high volume, right? So we can see it's actually grabbed that same candle here, but it's grabbed a bunch of other ones as well, right? So you could just have this one on and be like, well, whenever this one comes on, for the most part, I want to pay attention. But you can see it's much, much more common and frequent than that red one, right? There's multiple candles. If we turn the red on over top, it'll override the high volume as well, right? So we can see, just zooming out really quickly, okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 major candles we want to be paying attention to. But we can also see that there's decent volume candles within that as well. And that could be how you use it, and that way you don't even have to touch the rest of this. Obviously, if you want to get into volume or you want to get into playing with this a bit more, do whatever you like. Just make sure you backtest it, whatever settings you end up using, and making sure they suit what you're doing, right? So we can turn those off, and we can go to bull volume, right? Go OK to that, and then we can just cross-reference these candles. So for instance, this one here, straight up, that's a bullish candle, right? This one here, straight up, this one here is a bullish candle, right? This one here, straight up, that's a bullish candle. So these are candles with a bit more volume in them that are bullish, right? And then you can go out of this, so back into the settings, and you can go bear volume, right? So down here is this guy, right? That's that candle. Over here, right? Not rocket science. Pink candle, come down. That's pink. So what you could do, if you wanted to set it up in this way, maybe, is have just both bull and bear on. So everything is grey except for the candles you want to pay attention to, and you've got color coding based on the candles above, right? So that's a really simple way to use it as well. But you can still miss, like over here, like this candle here, the most recent one, that is still grey, which is a bit of a pain. I'll probably tweak this over time. I'm still playing with this, but I wanted to get it out for you guys. Now that the market is getting a little bit volatile, we're starting to see these rallies back into these high volume nodes, right? And we're seeing altcoins win 50 to 100% at the moment over the last few weeks. So volume is coming back into the market. So I want you guys to have a volume tool to just help you guys navigate it. Turn those off. Now I've got high volume bull and high volume bear. Same applies because with the color code, we can throw them both on and zoom in, right? Now these ones aren't as frequent. This one, right? This one here, there's a big gap in between that. Just going to delete that. So what we could do is, just for demonstration purposes, grab this candle, the whole thing, drag it into a level, into a zone. Next candle is this one here, which is this candle here. Drag that into a zone. Right. And next one, say here, drag that into a zone. Alright, and essentially what we're going to end up with is some pretty key levels. Right. We can drag that to the right more. Drag this to the right more. and this one here. So just based on those 3 candles that we were able to grab from over here, we're able to find these really key levels. Right, this is before, like if we're using this tool, fixed range volume profile, right, we're going to see this anyway, and we're going to end up seeing that this is the point of control. So what we're seeing is, we already knew that was going to be a really key point from this candle. We didn't need to see the rest of the range develop, right? We can just pay attention to where and what formed, right, and the indicator points it out for you. So moving forward, we can see it's a really key level. Resistance, SR flip, support, takes away, hits this next one, pulls back, falls under, hits this next one, back, right, rinse repeat. Pretty straightforward, right? So you can use these volume levels where it's pointing out and cross-reference that to the candle, and it'll give you a huge edge if you're not already using volume the way I'm showing you now, right? I've done all the fancy different variations of using volume. I try to simplify everything because I think people complicate the shit out of this market, and you really don't need to, right? And then we've got this extreme bear and bull instead of just the extreme. Okay, so this one here, for instance, will just paint the extreme candles with their specific color, right? So in our bear market so far, or in this bottom of this market, for instance, we got one here, one. So we got a bunch of candles. So what we could do is go and cross-reference where they are on the chart. We are using perp. So what we could do is go to USDT. So we're not using perp. We should be using perp. The reason for that is right now, Binance is running a campaign of free trading fees on Bitcoin, and because of that, the volume can be a bit skewed. So by using the perp, we'll get more honest or genuine volume, right? So this is our range here. I might just go to the daily so we can see that range better. Here we go. Alright. So what we can see here is there's only 2 that have been kicked off, and they're both bearish ones. Right, because we've got the extreme volume turned on, but the bearish version of it, right? So this is that candle here, which is a large, very strong Marubozu candle. And then this next one down here, which is this one here, right? Cool. So the real key areas to look for supply as we go into it. You want to see like maybe bearish divergence, cross-reference, maybe golden pepes, stuff like that into these areas. And then looking for SFP maybe behavior as well, like this, or maybe like this, right? However you want to see it. Add several factors, whatever your trading strategies are. But that can give you a huge edge of like where to look for over the top volume, right? For instance, right here, this up candle, right? This cross-reference what we've just been talking about. Bullish candle, turn that into a zone, right? Price comes back to it, and pretty much just ping pongs in it, right? You get these really key levels. Cool. Alright, well, we'll go back to where we are now on current price. Get back into it. Alright, so we can turn all of these on. As you can see, I've got my bears all the same color and my bulls all the same color. I'll go reset default. Cool. So you can see even my extreme is the same color. But I would like to be able to pick up, say, this guy here. Let's miss this one. And that one was slightly more extreme than the initial one here. Right. So it's not perfect, not absolutely perfect. You may miss one, so don't rely on this 100%. But about 90% of the time, 95% of the time, it's pretty accurate. And I'll just fine tune that over time. So essentially, cross-reference volume, these high peaked volume ones, right, with candle itself. It'll paint the candles for you if you have that setting turned on, right, which is down here. If you don't want it to override, turn these off, right? If you do, turn them on. You can customize it, play around with it, have fun with it, just like all the other indicators, right? They don't come with instructions on how to turn them into a trading strategy, really. They come with the ability for you to do that. These are tools, they're not trading strategies. But this is a very powerful thing that you could add to your trading strategies, maybe, is using volume if you don't already in this aspect that I've just shown you. Other than that, I'll probably be able to make some more videos around this, but I thought we'd just get it out there and get you guys playing around with it and get some feedback, etc. Sweet. Thanks, everyone.